Welcome to Geeks Talking Geek. This is Bandito Bane, the well-rounded nerd, the Super Spider-Man fan, and the Warhammer noob. I'm here with a couple of my guests, some of my best friends. First, we got the under the weather Reverend Sully, the Sultan of Soup.
Hello, I need some soup.
And the host of Talking Comic Books. How are you doing, Sully?
Oh, I've been fighting the cold all week, and it's caught up with me. And I think I lost the final rounds, and I'm just going to bed after this. I haven't even had supper yet. I lost my appetite. I started getting a sore throat, and I can just feel it like in the back of my sinuses and the top of my throat. I'm like, oh shucks, you know.
Yeah. Sorry.
How you doing, Juan? Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. And also my good friend and former manager from Spirit Halloween. He now resides from the state of Elvis Presley, Sylph.
Hello. I'm on the border between Tennessee and Kentucky. I could literally walk and go into Kentucky, just walking 15 minutes up the road.
Yeah, you could actually get authentic Kentucky Fried Chicken over there.
If I could eat chicken, yes, I could.
Yeah. Well, I hear their coleslaw's not that bad either. and I feel so jealous of you because, like, let me little story. My dad actually helped my uncle move from Memphis to Los Angeles, and
I'm sorry for interrupting. I was going to say that's a good move. Honestly, I would hands down prefer Los Angeles over Memphis. Memphis was like the black mark on the whole trip, honestly.
Yeah, and he was like, but he was like, you know what? While I'm here, why don't I go to Graceland? And my dad raised us all on Elvis Presley, and he always said that if we ever go on a trip, we're gonna go to Graceland. And he went to Graceland without me or my siblings, and we have never forgiven him for it.
As you should.
I mean, yeah, but thanks for joining us, guys. We are going to be talking about comic books. We're going to be talking about tabletop. We're going to be talking about video games. We're even going to be talking about Oscar-worthy movies, somewhat.
Geeks Talking Geek? That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Indeed.
So but first we are going to go through some quick comic book news. And this is from Comic Book Club Live. I have brought this up. We have brought this up last week when we were talking about Gray. So these three stories, we're going to go through them. For crying out loud, my freaking computer's so freaking slow. All right, there we go. All right, IDW expresses doubts about continuing after Diamond's bankruptcy. Valiant delays the Beyond relaunch, and DC cancels orders for Sandman 8 Facsimile edition. Facsimile edition.
Yeah, like fax.
Yeah.
They call it a fax edition, but you don't put it into the machine to be put over the phone wires. No. Not that kind of fax.
Yeah, so we talked about both of these things actually. IDW last time we were here. IDW going bankrupt and what it means to indie studios, and the SA allegations for Neil Gaiman and what's it going to do to his what it's going to do to his basically hit what he put into comic books.
Indeed.
Yeah. So Sully.
Yeah.
I know you're not the biggest IDW fan, but what do you think this is going to happen to IDW?
Well, here's something I just bought. This is IDW's best book from last year, and one of my favorite probably my favorite new story from 2024. It's called Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and it's like a Richard Scarry animal
Hang on.
book.
Let me put it. Let me put you on full screen.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's like a Richard Scarry animal book. He makes these like cute anthropomorphic animals that they wear like pantsuits and bib overalls and drive trucks and work at general stores and stuff. And it's so it takes that with a bit of Dexter. So this is a serial killer who was very artistic with her serial kills, and then somebody tries to expose her. There's a copycat in the town and doing things. It's really, really good. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. And I got the collection. I usually get single issues of things because I'm into comic books. But there's something like this I'll be able to lend out. I don't lend out comic books, but I will lend out the trade paperback. And this was pretty good. So IDW, yeah. Geez, they only have a few licensed properties. The big one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Also, they have Godzilla.
And the second biggest one that they got is Star Trek, and I think they might be losing that too.
Yeah,
but
I heard
if
that
they
from
fold,
West.
yeah, but they're the ones that give Heather Antos a job, and so it's like it continues her kiss of death throughout the comic book industry. Now, most people say that Jim Lee over at DC Comics, being like the publisher and the head honcho there, is a bad thing, and then he's got to go. And it's like, but without having Jim Lee there, Jim Lee literally gatekeeps Heather Antos from being an editor at DC Comics because he hates her, and she'll never get hired at DC while Jim Lee's there. So I think that's great to keep Jim Lee there,
Yeah, one of my favorite comic books came out last year. It was basically Godzilla Skate or Die, and it was basically a Godzilla book with Tony Hawk and like a few skater movies, which I actually absolutely loved. And it was basically a bunch of kids trying to save their skate park from a Godzilla attack. And it was actually a pretty fun read. So I would be sad to see IDW go. And Self, I know you like Monster High that's being published by IDW.
So one of my favorite comics could possibly be on the cutter board. That's not fun to hear.
Well, it's a licensed property, so the thing is that the property will go to the next bidder. So you might have a hiatus. You might get a change of creative teams, but just if IDW folds, just Star Trek will go somewhere else. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will definitely go somewhere else. And so IDW, that's like the only thing that keeping them afloat right now is their licensed properties like that. And the occasional gem like Beneath the Trees, which is completely original.
Also, Feral is a pretty good one too, from the creator of Stray Dog. Yeah, Stray Dog.
20 Fleeks. Yeah, it's okay. I tried it out for the first couple of issues. It lost my interest, and I like the art style.
Yeah,
it looks like a Don Bluth movie, but
it does. Really good. But another one is that, like, I don't know what's wrong with Valiant, but they keep delaying their books, and the way things are going right now, I think that's a bad idea for them to be delaying their books like they do.
It's interesting. That might have to do with the Diamond thing, because Valiant Books now are having a publisher known as Alien Books do their publishing instead. So they've licensed out their publishing wing. They don't publish their own comics anymore. They're doing it through Alien Books. and Diamond had a lot of like the smaller print presses, so that's probably got something to do. Does it say anything about that there in the?
Yeah, hang on.
Another bit of fallout from the Diamond debacle. Valiant is delaying their absolute/ultimate style relaunch, Valiant Beyond. Per Bleeding Cool, the relaunch was originally scheduled for March, is now on hold until Alien Books, who is in a publishing partnership with Valiant, has more clarity on what is happening with Diamond. See, I called that right.
Yes, it's another. This is another comic book company that's being affected by Diamond.
Yeah.
And they're withholding prints in order to make sure they get paid.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't blame them, honestly. It seems like they're looking at the track record of their partners and they're like, yes, I'd love to help you, but I'm not going out of pocket for you.
Yeah, I can't pay this for you. I mean, like, you got to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Well, they call it show business and not show friendship.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we have the DC Comics cancels orders for Sandman #8, and this is all happened after the controversy and essay allegations of Neil Gaiman.
Oh, you're not monetized, man. You can say it.
All right, the sexual assault.
You can say anything. I'm not going to tell you what to say. Use your channel, man. I'm just fucking with you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh no, it's been more than 5 minutes. You won't get demonetized.
So the sexual assault allegations that Neil Gaiman has faced. I mean, it's not that this isn't the first time it's came to light. Last year it happened.
Now it's trafficking too. And I had to look up on Grok today, like, what is the legal definition of trafficking? I mean, and so it's like, I'm like, really? She sounded like she was like their girlfriend. You know what I mean? That's trafficking. The explicit, like, you got to be making something, some profit or some kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think that's a term that gets bandied about way too much.
Yeah, but so I know you're transitioning from a man to a man, and what's your take on the Gaiman situation?
If you wouldn't mind refreshing me, I actually did browse past that part.
Neil Gaiman is he's been outed. Him and his kinks have been outed because him and his wife Amanda Palmer of the what are they called, the Dresden Dolls? They would have girlfriends, and they were but now it's like the whole thing of retroactive consent. It's like now you have people coming out saying like, oh, I was assaulted. Oh, I was like, my consent was violated.
Yeah.
And
and like last time we were talking about this, we got this with Ed Piskor, and how so many two allegations came out, and it turns out that those allegations were false, but the entire comic book community got rid of him because he refused to take a side during the culture wars. And this led to extreme depression that allowed him to game end himself. And this also happened to Warren Ellis as well. But
so he has a fetish for trans women. Is that what I'm picking up from this whole situation? He's got a fetish for trans women?
He has a Gaiman has a type. Neil Gaiman has a type. Mousy, submissive. And he just like, he's like
kind of has an S&M thing.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I feel bad for these celebrities that get their dirty laundry aired out when it's not even that bad. Like, finding out that paparazzi has caught people doing kink stuff, BDSM stuff, and then it ruins their career when it really shouldn't have, because it's not like, as long as there's two consenting adults, and I do know that a lot of, especially nowadays, sadly, people are consenting, and then after the situation has happened, they were refuting their consent in order to claim some sort of respite. That is not all cases, and I understand why people believe the victim first above all, because there are situations where people do power plays in order to make sure that that victim no longer is capable of getting their word out and stuff like that. But for BDSM and like submissive like kinks and stuff like that, it's not something that needs to be looked down upon. If you aren't going out of your way to find a teenager or younger, it's not really hurting anyone.
No, and everyone was of age of consent,
Yeah.
and so
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with him liking submissive, mousy women if he's just simply going for a more petite, subservient woman for that specific role in kink. Because a lot of times kinks are just role play, and you gotta. And in order to do that, you got to get into a mental headspace or be willing to put yourself in that mental headspace. And there's nothing wrong with that in the adult world. We're all adults. We all got like that type of urge, unless you're asexual, and then that's a whole different story.
Yeah. So like this has really snowballed out of control. He's going to be Sandman season 2 is going to be the last season. His name is going to be taken out of the credits, and basically he's going to be
really. I didn't hear that one.
Well,
they're basically Beetlejuicing him.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if they can. I don't think so. He's one of the producers.
Yeah.
Unless he volunteers that. I mean, that's a lot of money too. I mean, there's one thing about the gaming situation. He's already filthy rich. And it's like, okay, there was Slith, you've ever heard of Coraline? The book.
Coraline. I have not. Coraline?
Yeah,
Coraline. I've heard of Coraline.
Okay, that was written by Neil Gaiman in 2002, 2003. So that's been in constant publication for 20
years. Yeah, so he's constantly getting money for the book, and on top of it, I'm assuming he owns some form of rights to the movies.
Exactly.
And those movies, that movie is big time, especially in my generation. Mm-hmm. We're all in love with that movie.
Exactly. And American Gods, that was a series from a couple of years ago. That was huge. That's more Neil Gaiman stuff. Then there's the Sandman itself. That has been in constant publication at DC Comics for 30 years. The collections, I mean, that's never that nothing's going to happen to that.
And let's not forget one of his biggest contributions to DC, John Constantine.
Actually, that's Alan Moore.
Oh yeah,
So Constantine first appearance was in Swamp Thing. About 1985, 1986, and then he appears very quickly in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically Alan Moore, John Tottlebean, and Bissett. Yeah.
Yeah, but he did write Hellblazer, didn't he?
Gaiman wrote a little bit. He wrote a couple of arcs. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Also know that he wrote for Spawn as well. He created Angela. He created the character Angela, and then he sold the rights to Marvel. That's why Angela is in Marvel right now.
And but so this is just canceling a facsimile edition. Now facsimiles are just they're just a way to get your dollar. Look at me. Look at all these facsimiles that I got. I love these Golden Age ones because they're 60 pages and they were originally 10 cents. But look, this is a facsimile of the first appearance of Hulk. And the Incredible Hulk 181 from like 1972, and it's got a foil cover too. Ain't that cool? And look, it's a facsimile of the issue 1 of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it should have all of the original advertisements and letter pages, and they're actually quite cool. And it's a good way for the publishers to keep making so this is a facsimile of Wonder Woman #1 from 1940, and this is subversive. It's really good. Old Golden Age Wonder Woman's fantastic up to about between 1940 and 1948. But look, it's a $6.99 cover price, and so it's just a publishing initiative to this is the Marvel Family #1, a Golden Age book from 1940, and 60 pages. And so this one, how much was this one? This one was $5.99, and Detective Comics 38 from the Golden Age. This is the first appearance of Robin, the Boy Wonder. And Wiz Comics #1. And look, a $6.99 modern cover price. But yeah, 10 cents. And I looked this up earlier. 10 cents in 1942 equals $2.01 today. And these, so your average comic book now is 20 pages of story and art. And it has about an average cover price of between $3.99 and $4.99.
So you're saying that this facsimile isn't gonna affect Gaiman's career at all?
None whatsoever. It's just Sandman #8. I think let's look it up. Sandman #8. I forget. I know all these. I love Sandman. Sandman #8 is it's The Sound of Her Wings. It's a special issue. Is this the one? This is the first appearance of Death.
Oh,
yeah. That's a key issue. If you had that issue at graded at a 9.2, that's probably worth a couple $100. Yeah. But it's the first appearance of Dream's sister, Death, of the Endless. You have Death, Destiny, Destruction, Despair, Dream, Desire, and Delirium. Is that it? Yeah, all 7. That's the 7.
Yeah, and
Delirium used to be Delight, and they never tell us what traumatic episode happened to Delirium, to Delight, that made her into Delirium. Okay. And Slith, have you ever read Sandman?
Sadly, I have not. That being said, I have consumed a decent amount of Sandman material. He was one of my favorite villains growing up. I liked how he was, at the end of the day, he was a man who got into an accident and just wants to get back to his family.
But that's Marvel Sandman.
That's Marvel Sandman.
Aha! We have a Viva La difference here. We're talking about DC's Sandman.
Then I have not digested any media of DC Sandman.
Yeah.
Then you know what? Look it up. I mean, Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. It's actually really darn good. For its time, there was nothing else like it except for maybe Grant Morrison. But Sandman basically invented Vertigo as an imprint because it was so good. It couldn't be contained. It was like these adult level stories out of kids' comic books. First issue came out in 1989, and by 1993, Karen Berger was given the keys to Vertigo, a new imprint. They did horror comics and these more adult comics. Yeah. Oh gosh, Sandman is incredible.
He was the kickoff to when Comics Beat started actually becoming nitty gritty and all that fun stuff.
Kinda. The nitty gritty stuff happened in the very early 80s, but that perpetuated a tone in an audience because the audience was growing up and they were giving more and more offerings to their aging, bread and butter. And so they were on better paper. They had a higher price, and you can only get them in comic book shops at the direct market. Comic books at then too were sold in magazine stands and something like this. This is called a spinner rack. And this would be, you could have a spinner rack, one of these, in your corner store, your bodega, your 7-Eleven, your gas station, your liquor store. And for 50 cents, a kid could buy with his pocket change. An issue. Oh, shit. What did you do?
I didn't do anything. He must have lost connection.
Oh, maybe you got bored.
There we go.
Maybe he hates me.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I'm coming, guys. Just messing.
Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you. My phone said, "Yeah, no, we're not going to continue this."
But yeah, Sandman. I mean, it's worth it. It is so good because it is intellectual. It is smart. It's art. It really is. But now you have it 30 years later, how problematic this rock star, creator was.
Yeah. All right. Also, I saw this. So this is another story that I just saw on Wes with Wes, and Liefeld is leaving Marvel forever. So, the creator of Deadpool, he's cutting ties with Marvel after his treatment at the Deadpool Wolverine. After Deadpool Wolverine, it was meant to embarrass, diminish, and defeat him. And with the way Marvel's going, I don't think they can lose any more legends.
Sure. I mean, he's oversensitive anyway. Let me tell you, Rob Lee feels he's an artist. He's in touch with his feelings because he can create art. You know what I mean? Just we sometimes forget that artists are sensitive people, probably more sensitive than just like, most people. I would fathom, at reason.
Yeah,
I'd put it out there.
Yeah, and plus I remember he got into a big kerfuffle with McFarlane with his property and Image.
Yeah.
So,
and they were legendary. They had a legendary feud, and they've made up. And but it's like it was for a long time. It was like East Coast West Coast hip hop. You know what I mean? It really was. It was just taking snipes at each other, and but also it's like Joe Quesada, the former editor-in-chief of Marvel. I saw Rob Liefeld last year on Mark Miller's Miller Time, and here's Mark Miller just bringing up people that they know in the same business. They both work for Marvel, and Mark was like, "Oh yeah," and Joe Quesada was telling me, and it was like Liefeld 20 years afterwards, like, "Don't even bring his name up. I won't even talk." You know what I mean? He just got really mad. Really quickly, you could tell it. And Mark was like, "Yeah, okay, sorry. I don't never mention him again."
I don't try to bring up Joe Quesada on again either. But that's another reason.
That is a story for another day. That's from Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah. So, but like this is really like right now they should be embracing their legends, and like Liefeld created Deadpool, and yet they really screwed him over.
Yeah, because they didn't put his proper credits in the movie. Was that it?
Yeah, that was it. Also they like during the red carpet, they what's his name? The idiot, the guy who's part of MC.
Kevin Feige.
Feige.
Wow.
Told him to erase told the publicist to erase the pictures that he was in with the cast, and also he wasn't him and his family wasn't invited to the after party after the movie.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny because he Rob Liefeld is married to Hollywood royalty, Joy Creel. You might are sure she's triplets with Leanna and they were on Saved by the Bell. They had this acting family. Their dad, was like an agent or something. Yeah.
I kind of understand where Liefield's coming from. If I personally, I have a comic that I've been working on for years, it's just called Bunnyman, it's called I Want to Be Friends, but the main character's name is Bunnyman. But if someone took a character that I loved and poured my heart into and put it on the big star, and I was more than happy to let them do that, they could do whatever they wanted with him, but then took my name out of everything and told me I wasn't even allowed to come to the premiere party of my character, I'd be hurt too. That's kind of understandable. I understand why he's like,
and he didn't even have to violate consent with his nanny. Do anything like that either, dude. We're taking Neil Gaiman's name off of shit. At least he did something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
But Rob's right. I mean, he's a little pissed off. Now people are going to say that it was Joe Kelly that actually gave Deadpool the Merc with the mouth, because he was the writer that picked up on it later. But Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza are the co-creators of Deadpool. Boom. That's that. That's New Mutants 98 or something like that.
I mean, they even acknowledge Chris Claremont in the movie because he created Wolverine.
Did he? No, that was Len Wein, I think.
Was it? Oh wait, yeah. No.
It was in Wolverine. It was in
Hulk.
Hold on, Hulk. Where did that Hulk go? I just had you, Hulk. Get over here. It was in Hulk 180, his first, and his cameo appearance at the end, and then 181 is like the key issue where it's like the first full appearance of Wolverine. And so I'll tell you that Len Wein, and Herb Trimpe were the writer and the artist. And Roy Thomas is the editor, and he finagled his way into the credits about being a co-creator because you get a cut of that Hollywood pie.
Yeah, and they basically screwed over Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's understandable for him. And he has such a rich comic book history that I think
he just did a Deadpool mini. It's finishing up. Last issue's coming out soon. It's called Deadpool Team Up, and it's just written and drawn by Rob. And it's not great because it never is with Rob's writing, but it looks wonderful. Look at these fight scenes, these over the top musculature and poses and panel. You know what I mean? It's like it's in his muscle memory and DNA. He just knows how to draw a superhero comic book. Oh, it's so good.
Still can't draw feet though.
He's gotten better.
Hey, feet are hard. As a fellow artist, feet are hard. It is three triangles paired together with a rectangle in between and a bunch of cylinders on the end. You make that work, bud.
Then they make cute toes or ugly toes. You know what I mean? Just like, you know what I mean? What are they going to think of me? I'm always making cute feet on these girls. You know what I mean? Like, oh, geez, they got me figured out. Oh,
yeah. It's always a joke how other artists are like, Rob gives good advice, but he still can't draw feet. Yeah.
At least he can draw hands.
Yeah. And biceps, dude. His all his characters are ripped. They either look like bodybuilders or they look like lingerie models. So that is I am behind Rob with this, and I hope him and Marvel can make up, because Marvel needs all the legends they could get.
Yeah, really, they really do. Mm-hmm. You're muted, bud.
You're muted.
This is the opposite of that Hulk 181.
Oh.
This is What If from fall of 1981. What if Wolverine had killed the Hulk on their first encounter? And so this is the original What If, way back in the day.
Yeah. All right. So let's go. We'll go back to comic books. But first, last year, I told Seth like last year, one of the best movies I saw last year was The Iron Claw. It was it was such a powerful movie for me. And it told the story of the Von Erichs and the wrestling family, and it showed how men aren't allowed to show emotion because they need to portray themselves as the tough guys.
Nor should we. I will never make the mistake of ever showing any emotion in front of a woman ever again in my life. I don't even get in elevators with them anymore.
Okay.
Are you dead serious right now, or joking?
He's joking.
Satire. Good satire is when you're like, is he serious? That's good satire.
Well, right. I also just kind of struggle with understanding jokes, so I typically ask for clarification.
Yeah, so like
it's about delivery. Like you're like, oh wow,
yeah,
he's serious. Like, that's part of the joke.
But like the Iron Claw, it was just so powerful. I've seen reactions to people of people watching the movie, and there is never a dry eye by the end of the movie. And it wasn't nominated for an Oscar. Not one. But you know what did get nominated? Basically, what a French guy thinks about transgender and Mexicans. This movie. Oh boy. I'm going to show you guys the cringiest thing I've ever saw.
It's not a video of me, right?
No. no, buddy. Well, well, one of the cringiest things I've ever seen, ever put on film.
Hello, very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see.
You might want to pause occasionally too. You might get a copyright strike.
Man
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
to woman.
From penis to vagina.
Oh God.
Is it for you?
WotC the musical.
What would
This-
you like to know about it?
Yeah, this is just so cringe.
It's
I
not
mean-
a story. That is that a story? It could be a story. I
Yeah,
mean, but it's like I don't know. It's like it
Yeah.
seems very agenda-y to be a story.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's written by a French. It's by a French guy.
Yeah, they're cowards. What do you want? They
I
surrendered
want
to
know it
Nazis
all.
anyway, so
What is
you'll
the
be fine.
protocol, the techniques and the risks? How many operations? How much time do you need?
This is what Hamilton did. It ruined musicals for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rhinoplasty.
Yes.
Laryngoplasty.
Yes.
Mammoplasty.
Yes.
Vaginoplasty.
Yes.
Rhinoplasty.
Yes.
Laryngoplasty.
Yes.
Control laryngoplasty.
What is that?
Adam's apple reduction.
Yes.
Oh God. I mean,
That's a quote from Tron.
Okay.
I mean, that's just like I know, like I know how people who are transitioning will go through some horrific surgeries, but that is just a nightmare sequence to me.
Well, a lot of the trans surgeries are very invasive and can be in similar manners as horrifying. That being said, it looks like these trans people are used as props simply to keep the story going and have something interesting in order to focus on, which I really do not like. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the main people that are doing the surgery, like the doctor and the lady that are speaking, they are portrayed as cisgender. So
Yeah.
these cisgender people are placating what they think the world of trans surgery should be and how a trans person should look and what surgeries they should have to get.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie is so bad that not even GLAAD acknowledges that as a fair representation of trans people. Crap. Why the hell does? Hang on. Sorry.
You might want to hit refresh. That's
Yeah.
HTML. I haven't seen a web page like that since
All right.
1996.
It's kind of like using, like, just for perspective for all of us, it's kind of like using that nerd character in the show to get beat up by the bully so that the main protagonist can save him to show how good of a hero he is and keep the story moving type thing. He's just
Yeah.
a prop for the story and nothing more.
Yeah, Emilia Perez is not good representation, and this is by GLAAD.
Yeah, they wrote it. There's no
Yeah.
byline on that. There's
Yeah.
unless it's at the completely bottom, but still, that's
Yeah.
odd.
And this is the thing. It's about a narco, someone who actually commits crimes, commits murder, and does everything like very terrible things.
So on top of dehumanizing trans people and using them as a prop, they're using the main character who is the trans woman is a narco, so they're painting her in the worst light possible on top of everything.
Yeah, they're saying they're basically copping out, saying that when you transition, you become a different person. So this guy who was a narco, an evil man, now he's this benevolent woman. Now that she's transitioned.
That's not how that works. That's really not, because, like, I do not speak for all trans people. This is just based off my own personal perspective. Us trans people, we are ourselves. When you're transitioning, it's not changing into a different person. It's just bringing the inside out. You're not changing anything really. You're just finally more comfortable in being yourself. So if this person is a horrible person, transitioning doesn't make them not a horrible person. It just makes them a woman who happens to be a horrible person instead of a man who happens to be a horrible person.
Yeah, and this is nominated for 8 awards. I'm wondering, what kind of weed is the Academy smoking, and where can I get some?
The good stuff.
California, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're already in, California. You get direct, Don't you know any Mexicans? Come on, man.
Dude, that is
That's where you get the good shit from.
yeah,
Michoacan, man. Michoacan.
yeah,
Homegrown.
yeah. This
That's
is
a Cheech and Chong joke.
yeah, but this is also one of the things that Mexicans have been talking about, is that the entire movie is in Spanish, but none of the cast are Mexican. They get a lot of the accents are very like, if it, like, say Sully is supposed to play someone from Washington, yet he has the thickest Southie accent you've ever heard, and
Speaks like a Southerner and all that.
No, Southie, Boston, a Boston Southie, and you're supposed to believe he was born and raised in Washington, in the state of Washington. Yet you have this
verisimilitude, yes, authenticity. But still, it's like, I mean, actors should be able to act as well. I mean, if like,
so like they
got Idris Elba, like, he's from Britain, and he's got a big Cockney accent in real life, but you would never know that watching The Wire. I mean, he plays Stringer Bell, and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know you see him for the first time in an interview, like, he's British.
Yeah, and like another one is they got Zoe Saldana, who was from Colombia, and she speaks Spanish with a Colombian accent. And you also have what's her name? She was in Fast and Furious.
Michelle Rodriguez?
Yeah, you got her. And she speaks no Spanish at all. And she has one of the botchiest accents. It's like
in this movie here.
Yeah, in that movie, right? That in that movie we saw.
Wasn't it like there's someone else in there, like Selena Gomez?
Oh yeah, that's Selena Gomez. Yeah, it was
movie?
Selena Gomez. She doesn't speak any Spanish at all.
Okay,
because she was born in America. She was born in the States. Yes, she doesn't speak any Spanish at all. So she had to learn. Yeah, she's a pocho.
Pocho.
So she had to learn Spanish, but she has
pocha. Is she a pocha or?
Yeah, a pocha, and she has such a blocky accent, and the director has the gall to say that we're watching the movie wrong.
And so a pocho or a pocha is a first generation Mexican American whose accent is so bad their Chicano relatives make fun of them.
Yeah, yeah. Trust me, I had that kind of reaction when I was a teenager. Right before
behind you, one. Watch out.
So the extreme no sapo kid.
Crap! They found me. All right, hang on. I gotta help the folks. Talk amongst yourselves, guys.
Hey. Meanwhile, let's vamp for the show. Hi there. I'm Eric O'Sullivan, Reverend Sully, coming to you live and direct from Boston, Massachusetts, United States of America, North America, planet Earth, third stone from the sun, which is in the Sol system, nestled in the outer spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the local group, the Virgo cluster, the Laniakea supercluster in the known universe, somewhere in the yet-to-be unrealized, unfathomed, unplumbed multiverse of possibilities. If you believe in such that. Yeah, and how's it going out there? How y'all doing? Is anyone in the chat? Don't see anyone in the chat yet. But if you're watching this the show on the replay, leave a comment in the comment section, and also smash that like button and subscribe to Bandito Bane. We grow together. He's a growing smaller channel, and he puts out some content, and this is how we get to 1,000. Actually, the threshold's at 500 still. I don't know. I got monetized the old-fashioned way. with 1,000 subs and 4,000 public views, and that took a lot of grinding. And but it's are you a YouTuber yourself, Seth?
I'm actually not. I do create art and stuff. I used to post a while back, but sadly, after my friend stole my art and reposted and actually made money off it, I have stopped posting my art and stuff like that. But
Good
I'm an
idea.
animator, a comic artist, a tattoo artist. I love painting, and I also create punk rock clothes. Like if you see on my little profile right there, I like doing costumes and cosplays, and I love
Nice.
going to cons.
I do too. I should be going to 3 this year, 2 in Boston and the Fan Expo Boston, and also Fan Expo Dallas,
Ooh.
late May, early June. And we're going to have, I'm on a weekly comic book roundup show, and it's on a pretty decent channel too, Thinking Critical. And, I'm a regular panelist on that. So we're going to have like a meetup. He's coming in from the Philippines. He lives out there with his wife and kids, and the kids have never seen the States before. And so the kids are old enough to travel. And so he's bringing them to meet their grandparents and see where Wes grew up, and it's great. And so we're all going to meet in Dallas for Dallas Fan Expo. We might even do a live panel show. We don't know yet. It's still in the works. Don't
Keep your
quote.
fingers crossed.
Yeah. And but yeah, you know what? My favorite part of art, like watching the process when watching an artist is it's color theory, and it's about the palette and about the mixing the colors together, from your acrylics or your oils on your palette. I'm pretty ignorant about digital tools, and because I think it's a lot of that comes, and this is just might be like being old, 20th century person, but I mean that's a lot. That's more like glorified coding, but having the ability to when you have the physical thing in your hand and you're mixing the colors together and you put it on canvas or Bristol, and because you have to wait for it to dry, the type of medium you're using. Is it paper? Is it canvas? The light source, because you needed an external light source, to really have, and it's just, I love color theory and I love learning more about that and how you build colors from the most basic things, like white and blue will make you green.
If you're a big fan of color theory, I'd advise looking into watercolor artists. My favorite one is Queenie Art. She is no longer with us. She died in 2019 due to heart cancer. That being said, her work is still revealed to this day. Do you know about the galaxy phase that like the internet went through?
I don't think so. It's not ringing a bell.
So there was a phase where everything Galaxy was popular, making DIYs covered in Galaxy stretchy pants, all that fun stuff. Well, she got in on that, and she created a piece in which this girl had her hair was glowing. She herself was a galaxy, and the stars were freckles on her face. And that is the most, that picture painting that she made has gotten the most attention out of all of her art personally.
Indeed.
Hey, all right, I'm back. All right,
Nice.
we got the Gallic Man returns.
It's the Gilk Man.
The Gilk Man, and he says Sully sent you.
That's right. That's my bro Thomas Gilkey. He's from Boston, Massachusetts. I don't want to dox him. 021XX. Let's say that instead. Yeah.
All right. So
next week, Thomas is lending me for the day. I'm gonna read it. Isom #1.
Isom? Oh, yeah. I love that.
Thomas is a big Rippaverse fan. And so he's gonna I haven't read any of them yet. So I'm gonna actually have an opportunity to hold it in my hand, feel the binding, look at the pages, you know what I mean? And just and I'm a quick read, so I'm gonna just burn through it. And
so all right, so going back on topic, Emilia.
Where were you? When we last left off,
I had
Bandito
to
Bane was.
I had to help my folks move some boxes so they could get to the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, Emilia Perez, like, I don't know why this is nominated for best song, best original song, best editing, best picture.
It literally checks those boxes, because remember, a couple of years ago you had all of these DEI, woke points in order to be nominated for an Oscar in the first place. You had to, satisfy the modern academic postmodern, critical theory shit.
Yeah, and that's why I think that
this has got it, man. This has got everything.
And this
But
is
does
why
it pass the Beckham test?
Does it pack the Bechdel test?
Yes.
It depends.
Yeah,
I mean,
and plus, I think that the Bechdel test, even the author, even the creator, she said that she created it as a joke,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're taking it too seriously.
I like to toss it around as a joke myself, personally. Like, I'll be like, but did it pass the Bechdel test when someone's telling me how good a movie is, just to get a laugh in there?
Yeah. So, like, with the Iron Claw, I think when the Academy saw the Iron Claw, they were like, "Oh, it's a family of white rustlers who are from Texas and have Christian values." So yeah, that's not, it's not Oscar worthy material. And I'm like,
not today's Oscar, but maybe 1975.
And Zac Efron actually bulked up for that role, and they did like entire wrestling programs for the movie, and yet it wasn't nominated for one Oscar. Not one. But yeah. Okay, like, Mexicans, really all we are narcos to French people?
Nah, maybe to French people, yeah, but to Americans, just they're Cheech and Chong jokes.
Yeah,
Mexican Americans don't like to wake up early in the morning, so they do it real slow.
Yeah.
Mexican Americans love education, so we go to night school and take Spanish and get a B. Mexican Americans have cousins named Chata and Chela and have a brother-in-law named Jeff. Legendary.
Yeah. So, like, and also I feel bad for like any trans people who actually are basically said to like this movie, because to me it feels like they're just using him as a prop. Kind of like the same thing with Dylan Mulvaney. What happened with Dylan Mulvaney and the whole Bud Light thing? He was a prop to them.
Yeah, he was a hired actor.
Yeah,
that's
actress or actor.
I would say actress. Sure.
Yeah.
I hate it when I hate it when female actresses use the word actor. Like, you're an actress. I mean, what's wrong with that?
And plus, she like, that's her preferred pronouns, but like, she was a prop, and it backfired horribly. And I feel like this is going to backfire horribly to them. And right now, with basically
what's the hullabaloo about that actress, or the trans actress?
Oh yeah,
did she get nominated for Best Actress? Okay, and Emilia Perez got nominated for Best Picture. Okay, and so the actress the hullabaloo is because of some tweets that she made years ago, and they were, you know what I mean, just edgelordy kind of shit, right?
Yeah, very edgelord.
All right, that's what I thought it was, edgelordy shit.
Sylph, you still with us, buddy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and this is.
What about you, Pikachu?
Yeah, she's not. she is not invited to the Oscars at all.
Yeah, huh? Is she not invited anymore, or is it
No.
just she
They
lost
both-
her?
She lost her privilege. I mean,
She got
after they dug,
canceled.
yeah, after they dug up like she admires Hitler.
Yeah,
You
being
know,
a Nazi will do that to you.
But like they're not going to do like the pillar presentation where they would have like best at previous years previous stars who won best actress, and they would have them standing behind the portrait of the nominees.
mhm.
Yeah, they're not going to do that one.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean
Why not just rescind the nomination?
yeah. I don't think they want to. That they don't want to because the
That would be a
Oscars-
hate crime.
Also, a lot of the time, there's been a long time saying that going around that most Oscars are typically done through money. If you put a certain amount of money into it, that's how you get
Uh-huh.
nominated. A
Yeah.
lot of the time, it doesn't actually have to do with any form of acting skill. So by removing her from the nomination, it would be like refunding her, but they're not giving her money back. So she would be able to sue, and it would leave them open for liability. So they can't
Yeah.
technically rescind the nomination.
So like yeah, and I heard that that Netflix put a lot of money into to get nominated, and that's why it's nominated. This is
That's the Hollywood system, all right. Yep. I didn't see many movies. The only movie I watched last year was Doom 2, and that was like at the beginning of the year. I mean, yeah, I missed Nosferatu.
Nosferatu was good. Robert Egger did a good job with that one.
Like I wanted to see The Substance with Demi Moore.
Mhm.
That looks. I love a good horror movie. People were raving about that, but I mean, I'm woefully like apathetic right now about Hollywood. You know, I mean, gee,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, let's go back to comic books because I'm tired of talking about Hollywood.
Well, like speaking of like like we were talking about real quick about the Fantastic Four trailer that just dropped.
Yeah.
And me personally, I can't get behind this. I don't care how the very few images I've seen. I know the set design, it's got this retro feel. It's a period piece set in the 60s. It looks great. Like it's set in some kind of mythic Marvel Manhattan of some 1960s that never existed, with some level of technology that looks great, of its age,
Yeah.
But then comes around Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, and I can't get over the fact that he literally hates half of America, and I'm in the middle, and I'm just more of like I wish you people would just shut up about your politics.
Yeah. And it
And
goes
because
both ways.
I'm
Yeah.
just like so all set with like
Yeah.
I don't want to see a Mark Ruffalo movie anymore, or even a Mark Hamill movie. I just like you people just shut up. I mean,
I feel the same way with certain people. Like, I can't stand what's his name, the InfoWars guy,
Judge Reinhold. No, Alex Jones.
Alex.
Yeah.
I can't
I
stand
can't
him,
stand him either. Yeah.
but I can't even. I can't stand. What's his name? Oh God, I can't stand the.
As a heel versus babyface.
No, not.
Oh,
not,
that's me.
Not heel versus baby. You can't stand heel versus babyface?
Oh, fuck no, man. What a fucking. He's a melty, man. I mean, first of all, I used to watch a shitload of him. So I used to watch. For gaming, I used to watch him game. I used to watch him play Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I would watch him for hours. It was fun. And it got me really into Witcher too. I ended up reading all those books because of watching Az play the game. And then seeing how the Netflix show is cast. And I'm just like, you purposefully didn't hire a beautiful Yennefer to challenge Western beauty standards. But I'm like, but Yennefer's an 85-year-old hag that is literally a glamour. And she's weaponized. And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, well, like I was saying, I can't stand.
Oh yeah,
I can't
Az.
stand. I can't stand I can't stand Alex Jones.
Hmm.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones of Infowars. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I can't stand Hassan Piker either.
I'm pretty ignorant to who that person is. I don't know. Left wing, right wing,
Yeah,
white
left wing.
pill, black pill. I don't know. Pink pill.
No, he's a left winger who basically hates Jewish people, and he
I
thought,
love
and
Jewish people.
yeah, and he basically complete the whole war, the whole Middle Eastern conflict that just got solved, not too long ago. Yeah, he blamed it all on Israel, and he was promoting terrorists. I can't stand that guy. But let's go back to comic books, because right now Chris Claremont spoke up, is taking some advice, give some advice to the X-Men office. Chris Claremont says that advice to the current X-Men office by pigeonholing mutants and minorities as minorities. Now, let me pull up the screen. All right, so this is from Popverse. You gotta be kidding. All right, Marvel's X-Men and all mutants shouldn't be pigeonholed as minorities by us or them, says veteran writer Chris Claremont.
Hallelujah.
I mean, since his day, it's not easy being a mutant in the Marvel universe. While superheroes like Captain America and Thor are celebrated, adored, and the public has made mutant heroes like Cyclops and Nightcrawler into pariahs since their debut in 1963. They've been prosecuted by society. Multiple storylines involve the team being hunted and imprisoned by government officials. Readers and scholars have compared mutants' experience to civil rights movements. Nothing that the X-Men face the same type of prosecution as minorities. However, longtime X-Men writer Chris Claremont says that it's more nuanced than that. In fact, he doesn't agree with X-Men being labeled as minorities. During the panel at CCX XP 2024, the legendary writer spoke about the relationship with mutants have a society. The challenge is to see themselves as as minorities. That's Charlie's job. That's Magneto's jobs. But for the perception, what they are is half a dozen, maybe a dozen kids, young people living together, but looking on themselves as ordinary people. They have abilities, yeah. Leonard Bernstein had abilities from their perceptive. It's not much different. He composed and played brilliant music. They saved the world, A and B. The key is to think of them as people, not as heroes. Not, yes, I'm a minority. No, you're a person who is trying to live a normal life. Other people may see you as a minority. You may react to them as a minority. You may look at yourself objectively as a minority, but as a person, you're a person. And this really sums up what they should be doing at the X-Men office.
Yes, because X-Men is a better book when you make it for a general audience and you tell action adventure stories. That's with the expectations found in the genre and in the medium. But I mean, the whole using these characters who are made for a general audience, when you specialize them so restrictively, when you to use them as an avatar of your ideology, that's when it becomes you've left escapism behind. You've intersected with reality and all. And that's one of the things about academic postmodernism is the strength when you have intersectionality behind a concept. You get a force multiplier. Your shields are up 500% because you are, hey, I have 3 or 4 classifications in a minority category. I'm a woman. I'm brown. I'm also an alphabet person, and I also have a neurodivergent disorder. That makes my arguments 4 times as powerful as yours, with or without the merits. And so the whole marginalized community idea is now it's about what, 15 years now that they've been running on that narrative. I hate using that word. It's so overused, but that's the operating system of the X-Men, that it's the Hellfire Gala. It's about, it's queer, and it's always been queer. No, it hasn't. I mean, I've been reading X-Men for 50 years, literally. Well, maybe 45 to be honest. I was 7 when I started reading X-Men. But it's like the X-Men didn't change. We didn't change. The only change was the commies, the communists, and I mean that's where my satire is kicking in right there. Is where like the academic postmodernism that comes out of academia, that when you're not hiring storytellers, you're hiring HR people, you're hiring from universities. You know what I mean? These aren't artists. This is a writing gig, and you learned to write in a specific way in the past 30 years, going to your Ivy League school. This is where academic postmodernism comes from, academia. You know, blue collar people don't think this way, and you can't sell these ideologies to blue collar people. And also, you're struggling to sell that to the general audience as well. Yeah. So you've made this hyper specified, hyper idealistic thing, which should be, really like, no. This is, what sells that X-Men 97 stuff? Because that is universal, is all heck. And now you can have your stories and your adventures, but I mean, everything looks right, and it's just that got embraced because that was for everyone. X-Men are for everyone, not just the marginalized communities.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and like being a minority myself, I don't want to be treated special.
But you're really not, because you're taking consideration borders. I mean, there are 1.2 billion people between North and South America. There are 330 million in the borders of the United States of America. Everyone else, the majority, close to 1 billion people, they're Latinos and Latinas. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you like that. Like being, but it's more of like, I don't see you as a minority. Yeah. I see myself as the minority in a way. Yeah. This myth of being white.
Yeah. So, I know you like being treated normal, but what's
I do like being treated normal with human respect, as every human should.
Yeah.
But what were you going to, I'm sorry for interrupting you. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So what's up? What are you buying? It's a calendar. No? It's a calendar.
I'm on TV, Dad.
All right. So you want to? Well, you are the biggest minority on this panel right now.
I wouldn't say that, but
sure. I'm Irish. You should say the Irish in Ireland lately. Come on, dude.
Yeah, and but like being part of the LGBTQ community, and like, I know you're an X-Men fan.
Yeah. So I really like how he cited things that should be viewed as minorities. Like, he was talking about how it's Charles' job, how it's Magneto's job, because Magneto was a victim of Auschwitz and everything. So if anybody should be pigeonholed as a minority, it's fucking him.
Yeah.
But
He brings up Kurt Wagner too.
Yeah.
His skin tone. He's got 3 fingers and 3 toes, and he's got a prehensile tail, and you know what I mean, and yellow eyes, and
all
you
he
know,
wants to do is just blend in and go to dinner and not be questioned.
yeah.
Oh,
And
hi, Lindsay. Sorry.
And this is this is the thing. Like, who was that one writer who wrote Warpath as this one? Like, oh, he's going to fight against the people who are going to be against the reservation. She basically stereotyped Warpath, and just because he's a Native American, he basically fights people against who are trying to take over his reservation, his family's reservation.
As he should.
And then there was the entire Chris Claremont Bendis run, where they basically made Iceman a stereotype. And yeah, I did not like that. So,
well, Bendis made him gay. I think it was Steve
Orlando.
Steve Orlando and Cena Grace that made him into a stereotype.
Oh yeah.
Made him all flamboyant and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's wearing you know what I mean? Like, he's wearing one of those chest things. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, that's like gay bondage stuff. He looks like he just left the club. That's not an X-Men uniform.
They put him in a chest harness?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That is bondage. That should not be in a superhero suit. Okay, they get away with it with
now
certain
you can
things.
say that Storm's original Dave Cockrum designed costume from like 1978 has some bondage qualities to it. You know what I mean? It kind of does. It has a leather, but that was more to do with the style of the time. It was called New Wave.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like the hip fashions that were going on. But yeah, definitely Iceman was wearing a love harness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was part of his X-Men uniform. And I was like, that's beyond gay coding. That's kind of like a little smutty.
Yeah, and also like one of the things I find like I basically see is that like Gail Simone and Jed McCain are basically right now the workhorses of the X-Men office. They're selling top tier books. Mm-hmm. Some of them might not be good, but like X-Men and Uncanny X-Men are on top. The rest, not so much. Sensational X-Men, NYX, X-Force,
they're all terrible.
Yeah,
I read them all, to be honest.
Dazzler.
I'm into a review circuit, and so I get review copies, and I can read. Sometimes I read 15 Marvel books a week. I read all the Marvel books. I read like 60 Marvel books a month. Seriously, out of the 80 that they're putting out.
Yeah, I saw like Gray's review of Dazzler #1. And Dazzler,
you make it stop.
Dazzler is depicted as straight, but you wouldn't know that after reading this book. And they also have some feminism in there where she wants to be treated differently because she's a female superhero. And I'm like, oh God, we're at this again? I thought we left Scully Sue behind.
Oh no. I mean, but it's oh gosh. And then there's something called like the Concert of Champions, which is a sequel to this, written by Jason Liu again. It's a sequel to Dazzler. Oh gosh, this is like wow, my head is hurting.
Yeah,
this book was so bad. Dazzler was awful, man. I had to read 4 issues of that.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like that. While I don't think like while X-Men shouldn't be pigeonholed as minorities, they should be embracing what they are, and they're people. They want to be treated as people. Have them save the world as heroes, or have them fight as villains. It's simple as that.
And they're misunderstood because there's the amount of mutants that are out there, that most mutants use their gifts for nefarious purposes. And they're the only minority that the mutants really are the gifted that use their powers for good and not for gain.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I mean, that's,
Yeah, like those fight clubs that exist specifically so that fellow mutants or other humans can bet on them to see who wins, and then the winner mutant gets a large cut of that type thing.
Oh
And
yeah.
then sometimes they'll even toss like really strong humans into the ring to like see if the human's better than the mutant, or so on and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite comic book characters was Forge. It still is. It's Forge. He's a Navajo Indian, but he also, one of the things he does is he works with technology, but that's not one of the things that makes him different, is that he embraced his past as a Navajo Indian, because he's also a shaman. And that's one of the things that I found so interesting.
yeah,
about
he
the
had a
character.
wicked cool design too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a cool looking character. Cybernetic leg, Native American trappings, especially when blended into the traditional X-Men uniform. Love his design.
Yeah, and I've always loved when the X-Men, they'll bring in their ethnicity into their uniforms. And like, one of the stupidest things I read was in Children of the Atom #1. And this was from like Vita Ayala. And
She's not getting work anymore, though. I mean, seriously. That's
yeah.
one thing like Birch always points out. It's like, listen, Danny Lore, Vita, Megs, they don't get gigs anymore. It's part of it is so nobody wants to work with some of them, but the other part is that they're not good at their jobs.
Yeah, and
they don't sell.
Yeah, and one of the things is that she was she doesn't do any research. Like, one of the things was like when the X-Men came back from a portal from New York back to Krakoa, Maggot, they heard police sirens. Maggot said, I always get nervous when I hear that sound. And I was like, and someone brought this up on the comic book when they reviewed this. They said Maggot is from South Africa. They didn't have to worry about law enforcement. They had to worry about part-timeism, the actual racism.
Oh, apartheid, yeah.
Yeah, apartheid.
Yeah. Well, like, you mean, because Marvel, it's, yeah, because sometimes, like, you know, the Marvel Earth, it has real life things that happened in that past too. Like World War II happened.
And plus, like, the thing is that Maggot, just because he's black, he has to be afraid of cops. I find that kind of stereotypical.
Yeah, and if he is from Africa, it'd make more sense that he'd have an issue with gangs, or specifically large loud alarms, because in schools in Africa they play extremely large loud alarms as a way to say that there's incoming gangs that are going to cause issues, and so these students would need to find a place where they could either bury themselves, or like there was this exchange student who ended up squeezing himself when the school bell went off. He ended up squeezing himself in between the vending machine and having a panic attack, because that's what he thought the bell was for. And so if they really want to play into him being a victim of something, they could actually, like you said, do the research and play into something that has more cultural effect on where he came from.
Yeah. So you're I mean, this is why I like having Sylph on the show. He is very knowledgeable with the world, and especially with comic books. They're a worldwide phenomenon, and I think some of these writers need to actually do the research and like find out what was and have them like, let's say one of my also like like I said, Forge, he embraces his culture, at not only as a mutant but also as a Navajo, and it just makes him a more interesting character.
Especially with if they depict him having to go through the turbulence of having to maintain his spiritual connection to his people while also maintaining the technological side that he needs in order to be the superhero that he is.
Yeah. And like, it is just like one of the things. It is just so interesting that we. Oh, all right. Well, Sully has to go.
It's my turn to go because my voice is I'm struggling now. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's been fun, and we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes, and yeah, I am legit sick. I just want to go to bed.
Okay.
And I will talk to you later. And thank you so much for having me on.
All right.
And have a great show. And people out there in TV land, make sure you subscribe and smash that like button and leave a comment. You be part of this conversation in the comment section. And but thank you so very much. I will see you later, alligators.
Oh, wait. Geek Spotlight.
What's your geek spotlight?
I got this for $3.50 in the back bin the other day at my comic book shop, and this is a 2-issue adaptation. I must have had this when I was a kid, and but this is, look at that art, look at that frame. That's a great cover.
Yes, it is. The rain. I love the perspective of the rain drawing the eye to the main focus.
And this is an important part in the movie. This happens like at the end of the movie. This is Blade Runner. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I don't have this. And this is going on my spinner rack.
Thank you, Sonny.
Well, good to see everyone, guys and gals, and everyone out there in TV land. And cheers. Have a good day and a good night. Awesome.
Get better.
All right. Take care, Sully. All right. So, while Sully's gone, let's move to our next subject. All right. The Fantastic Four, can it save or destroy an MCU? Right now, MCU's hurting for a win right now after what Anthony Mackie said during the Q&A during Captain America the new Captain America movie. And yeah, right now it needs a win.
I can definitely see that they're attempting for a win. Like when I asked you previously if you thought it was more them in mimicking the actual era in which Fantastic Four came out of, or if they're just simply trying to mimic the popularity in which WandaVision got, because WandaVision was also had a similar vibe and did so well due to said similar vibe. And I think that's what they're trying to do with it, to make sure that Fantastic Four can solidify the reboot of everything.
Yeah, and plus with some of the art, I mean, let me pull up the trailer right now. Like with
Loki TV also had a similar vibe, and so TVA, pardon me, also had a similar vibe. So it could be very much so they're like, okay, these TV shows, WandaVision, Loki, TVA, let's keep doing it because it's the only thing that's hitting right now.
Yeah. So, hang on.
Welcome. Yeah, I'll be the judge of that.
I like the way they're making the thing right now, because it looks like very similar to Jack Kirby's original design of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, so they're doing it a more faithful adaptation with this one in the past 2 iterations. Michael Chiklis did a great job as Ben Grimm the Thing, but I mean, the other one, oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
I actually took my brother to go see it on his birthday, and he's like, you know what, next year don't give me a gift. It was that. So like, but like, there are a couple things that are like are brought up. Like, I don't know if you heard about the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man debacle whole thing, and like one of the things in the new Spider-Man cartoon, they basically race swapped Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn to be African American, and they also gender and race swap Kirk Connors the Lizard to be Latina Mexican, or a Latina. And
See, they can. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Race swapping can be done right if it actually is needed for the background of the character. Like if they're race swapping for the sake of using the culture as a way to add on to the character and enhance the character in the story, go for it. If you're doing it just to do it, I don't know why you did it.
yeah, and like there was another race swap, like Liz Allen in Spectacular Spider-Man, or yeah, I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man. There was Gwen Stacy was in it, but also Liz Allen, and they're both blonde, blue eyes. So in order to separate the characters, Liz was now depicted as a Latina. So she was half half Latina, half Caucasian. So she had brown hair and brown eyes, and that was mainly done so they could separate Liz and Gwen Stacy.
Do they at least in any way, shape, shape, or form touch on how that affects her as a character, or do they just be like, "Yep, and now there's a color difference. Let's keep on going."
Well, yeah, they actually did that just so that so people won't be confused by them, because they're both so similar in the comic books, and also, but they didn't want people to mistake Gwen as Liz. So that was basically it. But like,
Then they have a right to get all the lashback they get. They deserve it.
but that was Ultimate Spider-Man. But this one, I think they're just. But this one with your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I think they just did it just for brownie points. And
I like the writing that has gone into it so far. Also, sadly, they're having like their main voice actor for Peter Parker is stating that he's worried it's going to be too woke and it's doing stuff like that. I really don't think they should have the voice actor saying that. That's doing nothing but simply hurting themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
I do like how they revamped the original comic style and turned it into animation. It's like showing akin to the original Friendly Spider-Man.
Excuse me, but the reason I brought this up is because they're going to have the Silver Surfer in here, but instead of Norrin Rad, it's going to be Shabella, his wife, and basically it's going to be played by Julie Gardner. And a lot of people are like, did you just do this because you wanted to, did you just do this because you wanted to do something different, or are you doing it for brownie points?
Also, there could be hey, are you doing it to give the audience more fan, what is it called? You giving the audience something more to look at, eye candy wise.
Yeah. Fan
service.
Yeah, fan service. So, yeah, but I'm really hoping that this does good. I mean, the trailer did look good.
I certainly think the trailer looked good as well. That being said, I don't really like how they're going with I forget her fucking name. Pardon, I forget her name. It's the Invisible Woman. She
Vanessa Kirby.
Yes, I don't like how it already is showing how her main focus is like, oh well, I'm somebody's love object, and they're upset that I turn invisible now.
Well,
That's what I got from that trailer for her character, at least. That's about
yeah,
it.
yeah, and this is the thing. But this is the thing. Sue has always been the mom, the mother hen, or the den mother of the Fantastic Four. She's always the one who's taking care of things. Like she'll always read in when he's too far into a project. She'll always calm Ben down when he gets too angry, or she'll always be there to browbeat her brother when he gets too wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're trying to portray her as motherly, more motherly like, and try and give him that pep talk.
I don't think they personally articulated it well. It came across as a boo-hoo type situation, but
Yeah.
I can see how it could also come across as motherly.
Yeah. All right, so hopefully the Fantastic Four does good. But right now, let's go to EA, because right now they are coping. Veilguard, Dragon Ages
Okay.
Veilguard.
You've used the word coping before. Do you mean coping as in the normal term or co-oping?
No, coping as the normal term.
Okay.
Yeah, EA and Bioware are coping with Dragon Age the Veilguard. All right, so like before Dragon Age the Veilguard came out, they got this one influencer to basically say how how it's the greatest character creator of all time. So they gave him a free copy, and his name is Vale Walker Eddie, and dude, here he is. They basically gave him a free ride, and now they are basically pulling everything back because most of it has bombed. It has bombed. I mean, 200. EA has lost $200 billion thanks to Veilguard.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's on the level of when Disney bombs, but
yeah.
Disney can make up for it.
So like one of the things is that EA Montreal or BioWare Montreal is going to be closing. 50 people were left off. Corinne Bush, the director, trans woman who basically said it was going to be the queerest game ever. Yeah, they're gone. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's the type of advertisement you want. Like, even if it is a queer-centric safe space type of game, I don't know if you want that to be your head writer, because a lot of queer people don't want it to just be queer. They want it to be good writing. Like,
yeah,
sell the story, sell the gameplay, sell the character designs.
yeah, and this is the EA has been coping. They've been saying that Andrew Wilson has been saying it's been underperforming because of the lower forecast, or because it doesn't have a multiplayer element. And this really grinds my gears, buddy. I mean, EA basically went through the whole crap with the loot box system with Star Wars Battlefield 2.
Mm-hmm.
And right now they're saying, Veilguard didn't perform well because it didn't have a multiplayer angle. I mean, it started out as a multiplayer game, but then they went back to single player. But then it had writing like this. Let me pull up some famous scenes from this train wreck. Right.
Show me the caboose that's on fire, please.
Yeah. Freaking thing. Here we go.
snake's nose. She's still holding the ruby in her other hand. Maker's panties. I was so proud.
Oh,
Ah, shit. They're still holding it. Sorry.
So
What are you doing?
this is
Pulling a
called
bar.
pulling a bar.
Oh, okay.
a barv.
Tradition in the Lords of Fortune from one of our old members, Barv. Good guy, but like most of us, his plans went sideways a lot.
So yeah, they're saying apologizing isn't good enough. You gotta work for it. If you misgender someone.
I don't agree with that. Like, you remember Adam, right?
Yeah.
So the reason Adam was so good at getting at my pronouns, because when he met me, it was, I think I was a sophomore and had yet to be as strongly adamant about coming out and all that stuff. So he had to transition with me, like, pronouns wise. He literally, like, I never asked this of him, but he went out of his way to hit himself every time he misgendered me. I felt bad about that. I don't know any trans person that would ever ask for someone to punish themselves if they misgendered them.
Yeah. So this
Bad blood among your crew's not good for morale, but there's not always time for big, drawn-out apologies. So when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10 to put it right. Pulling a barv.
I mean, at least
There
you
we
keep things
go.
straight.
I'm glad the Lords of Fortune have Tarsh's back.
Oh, Tarsh isn't the first non-binary member of the Lords.
Really?
It was a little before your time, but Horlicks was one of ours.
yeah.
Huh. Bastard looked better than I did in a dress or pants. And out of them, too.
Any reason you can't just apologize?
Sometimes people say, oops, sorry, and hope that fixes it. But they just want to get the whole thing over with. Trust me, I know. But pulling a barv, you sweat a little. Makes you think about it a little more. Shows the other person you mean it.
What if they mean it when they say they're sorry, though?
And that's the other reason. Some people mess up and get all dramatic. They make it about them. Oh, I didn't mean it right. I'd never do that on purpose. They feel so bad about it that it's on everyone else to smooth it over and make them feel better.
Oh, okay, yes, some people might do that.
Pulling a barv puts it on the person who screwed up. They made the mess, they fix it, done.
That's the type of writing, that's the type of Oscar-worthy writing we're dealing with. It's not the fact that the game, so like EA are saying it wasn't because the gameplay was so repetitive, the puzzles were so easy, and they basically Disneyfied everything on a grimdark world. It's just, it was because there was no multiplayer.
Yeah, like, okay, so I don't really think they should have focused on it too much. Like, I feel like they went too far into explaining. It could be like, oh yeah, this is our way of apologizing for that specific transgression. That being said, like I said, I don't know a single trans person who would ask someone to go through genuine strife as a form of an apology. Like, that's freaking extreme.
Yeah, I
Looks
mean,
gorgeous though.
yeah, it does. I mean, this is one of the things that a lot of people were saying. It's a good-looking game, but a good-looking game can take you so far. It's the story that brings you in.
Especially nowadays, where most games look utterly flawless. Like, it's to the point where you might need to have an extra extension storage for like your PS5 just so that you can have like two really good looking games, because they put so much gosh darn effort into the graphics. So having a good looking game nowadays is kind of partially the bare minimum.
Yeah. And
so when that's the only thing you have, okay, cool. You got the bare minimum. What else are you gonna do? Gotta be more original.
Yeah, and this is a thing. I mean, I'm a Dragon Age fan. I was a Dragon Age fan. Dragon Age Origins was the first Xbox 360 game I owned. I defended Dragon Age 2, and I try and play Dragon Age Inquisition every year. Just do a playthrough every year, and it just, really hurts seeing it fall over itself just to be so inclusive. They didn't need to do that. It was just so it was they didn't need to do that. They already had that. They just put it in the background.
Yeah, and that's like, I really, like I said, I really think that they could have. It was a lore, yeah. It wasn't really good lore though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there was a. They did have. Oh,
Sorry. Sorry, my cat just got fixed and she started licking her stitches.
Okay. Yeah, like one of the things is like the lore, like I always liked the lore because it was always they always had like they always had like elves were like some elves were treated like minorities because they were basically not human and they lived in the ghettos while some elves lived in the woods. And it was always so interesting because you saw how they always how this fantasy world was always so captivating. And it was the story that brought me in.
Mm-hmm. And they just swept that under the fucking rug and said, nah, we're good with that.
Yeah. Like, here's another Oscar-worthy scene. Freaking, and it really hurts. Like I said, buddy, it really hurts when they do this. When they put up when they do things like this.
Here, vegetables.
Thank you.
So, I'm non-binary.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like
Sorry, that parody, but I know that was the only thing I could find. But the whole thing was like, hang on.
It's valid. It's very valid. Like, I don't know if you remember with the new hires, I would start by asking them what their name was, how old they were, what their pronouns were, and then I would introduce myself, do the same, and then go about my day. That's the most that needs to go into it. You don't just need to start a conversation with, so I'm non-binary, unless you're legitimately coming out to a friend group or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is like the whole thing.
Dad, I just sat down.
What does that mean?
It means I don't feel like a man or a woman.
If you are neither a man nor a woman, then what are you?
Non-binary. I just said, and I'm going to use they instead of she from now on.
So this is the thing. These are the Qunari. They have a word for transgender. They have a word for transgender, and that was always interesting to me because they had this that they didn't use modern language.
And now they are. They're rewriting the lore they've had written for ages, basically.
Yeah, and it's always so frustrating for that. And I mean, this is what Time Magazine called Game of the Year. Yeah. That's speaking about brownie points for Ubisoft. Does it again? Modernizing ancient Japan.
Yeah, they just completely disrespected most Japanese cultural rules at this point. Like I stated before, it is flat out a belief that any woman that steps into no woman is allowed to step into the sumo ring because women are deemed as dirty, because they have menstrual blood and all that, and that is deemed as dirty and stuff like that. Like the whole birthing process is deemed as dirty because they had such high cleanliness standards because that's how they maintained their health, especially during medieval times when sickness was the thing that killed you more than the sword did.
Mm-hmm.
And so to just completely rewrite that by making it have a female sumo wrestler, you're just like, okay, so I don't care about any of the rules, but I'm still gonna use the rule board as my script.
Yeah. So here's the new character introduced to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yeah. I'm just starting to believe that this is all a parody by now.
It's all a hallucination. You're gonna wake up in a couple hours and realize it's still 2013.
Yeah. Well, I'd be like 29.
Damn.
Or wait, I'd be 30.
I would have been 11. Yeah.
I would be 30, and I would be ready for the next Marvel movie.
No, I would have been younger. I would have been 9.
So yeah, this is one of the things. I mean, so far, like Ubisoft has been saying that they know more about Japanese culture, and then they disrespect the Japanese by saying that they don't know about their own history.
So what they're doing is they're either, by what they're stating, so they're stating they know Japanese history, and so they're either lying and not checking their stuff, or they're disregarding actual Japanese history and just deciding what they like.
Yeah.
Either which way, they're messing up.
Yeah, and this is what I don't get. Assassin's Creed, or before that, before any of this happened, before like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Assassin's Creed was always on point with their history. And this isn't about a racist thing or a cultural thing. It's about people's culture. Or the culture war that's going on today. It's about people's culture. It's their history. It's what they were raised on.
Yeah, it'd be like making a laughing stock of like the importance in the ofrenda and taking that and putting like some silly like comic book character on it because you think it's funny.
Yeah.
Instead of like being genuinely respectful to the whole situation, how this is genuinely how people grieve.
Yeah, and this is I've always compared this because I said this to Sully and Gray and a good buddy of mine, James, or Jinja Ninja, who lives in Japan as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have said this would be like if some blue-haired guy in a man bun and thick new age glasses came into my house saying, "Oh, we're gonna change your old friend out. Okay, so we're going to take out all the bread that you have there and we're going to replace it for tofu because we don't want to offend the vegans, and we don't
no pandose, no conchas, just tofu and soybeans."
And then they're going to be, and we don't see any other people other than Latinx, so we're going to put this one nice Asian lady in this photo of this nice Asian lady and this photo of a disabled black man in there. Oh, don't worry, they're still alive. I would tell the guy to get out of my house.
As you should.
Because like that's our culture, and you telling the Japanese people that they're doing their culture wrong, that's just not very good. But let's go to tabletop, and I know you're excited about this one. WotC keeps ranking D&D in the name of representation.
So when you meant excited, you meant actually adamantly livid, correct?
Oh yeah.
Just making sure, because that's how I feel.
Okay, so okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, the whole situation where they've decided to stake the stats boost out of races. I was talking with my husband, who also is a D&D nerd himself, and we were talking about what's the whole point of having different classes and different races, which was the original, like the whole original thought of D&D was your friends coming together, finding your weak points, finding your strengths, placating on both, and figuring out how to be a team together. The dwarf is going to be extremely proficient in tools, in machinery, and typically knowledge. While might not be the most fastest, but they sure as heck can take a hit and keep on licking, and they've got durability. While the elves, they are extremely intelligent, extremely capable in musical instruments, and extremely capable and prolific and proficient in magic. That being said, you strike them hard enough, they're probably gonna die. And like taking away those stat changes is taking away the bread and butter of what makes this game fun. Like, sure, you still have classes like druids, clerics, bards, and so on and so forth that cause you to have certain little improvements, enhancements, and whatever, but without the whole race base of it, then what's the point of writing a character, giving them an origin story? Like in D&D, you choose a specific history that your character has had, and then you get little points based off of which one you chose. Like my last character was a wayward child that had a guardian, and so he was more perceptive in certain skills like language and stuff like that. When you take the race points away, sure, you're doing equality, but you're killing the fun and you're killing the integrity of the game that was team building.
Yeah. And this is what they say that they're going to do. That the ability scores are going to be tied to backgrounds, not species.
But they used to do both. So you're just switching to one mechanic when you originally had two that worked hand in hand with each other. And by doing this, are they rewriting the entire background mechanic that once was? You know what I mean?
Perfect. I guess so, because it says right here in the 2024 update, species are no longer given ability scores bonuses. That's probably the most dramatic shift for longtime players. Instead of your character's ability scores now come from their backgrounds. For example, a Wayfarer's background offers dexterity, wisdom, and charisma points, potential bonuses. You could choose how to apply them: +2, +1, or +3, or all three. Change allows your character stats to reflect the life experience and not just their biology. You can finally play a character concept you always wanted without being forced into specific species class combinations for the sake of optimization.
So that works in a world where it's like humans, and humans have different identities based off of where they're from. But these things are genuine mythical creatures that have a lot of differences in one another. Like, so a dwarf gets the same stats as a Goliath? Does that make sense to you, Juan?
That does not make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. Or a gnome gets the same stats of a drow? That doesn't make sense either.
Nope. And speaking about drows, guess what they also took out of the monster manual?
I'm assuming they took away drows, Goliaths, and orcs because it was seen as like a slur or some crap like that.
Yeah. They took out the drow and the orcs.
Regardless of the fact that drows made themselves a whole different species by changing their climate, living underground, and worshiping a completely different god, which had drastic changes to them because a lot of elvens are influenced by the gods they worship.
Yes, because they thought it was racist.
Yeah, that'd be if drow was a slur, but it's not. It's a term of a species. Yes, most drows are viewed as lesser in elven society. That being said, in the actual world, it's more like, hey, yo, you're a drow? Yeah. That just basically means you're an elf that stayed in the dark your entire life, or you grew up in a mine.
Yeah. like I told you, like back in the day, like when we were still working at Spirit, I told you one of the things that D&D that WotC has been doing was hiring so many, not only getting rid of old school creators, but they've been hiring so many people who worked on AI and also sensitivity readers. And I think people who are in the sensitivity reader community are the biggest scam artists out there.
Because anything can be sensitive to anyone if you look at it close enough, technically.
Yeah. And
like, I could tell you to F off, and you could be like, thanks, man. But the next person be like, what did you just say to me?
Yeah. And that was like, and this is like, nice cameo. And
thanks.
This is like the thing for sensitivity readers. They're basically hammers, and they see all problems as nails. So when they see when there's a problem, they have to hammer it out. And the thing is, when they run out of problems, they need to look for more problems.
That is a genuine issue with nowadays. Instead of looking for ways to improve, they look for problems to seek out.
Yeah.
Like, that was my favorite thing about D&D when the new editions would come out. It's like, oh, let's look at what they tweaked. Let's look at what they improved upon. Let's look at what they fixed for the gamer experience. Not, oh, let's look what they changed because they deemed it was unworthy for next time.
Yeah. Like, there was a comic about that was made, or a comic strip that was made for about people, everything that was being changed for D&D, and this blue-haired girl comes into a group, and she asks if she could play, and then they're like, okay, and then the people are like, okay, come on, and she's like, this game is too hard. Can we change the rules? They're like, no, this is how we always played. And then she throws down the dice, saying, why are you excluding me? And I think that they hire too many people who are overly sensitive, and it's really affecting what people like.
And the thing is, the problem isn't just oversensitive people. Like, I myself, you are very well aware, I'm a sensitive person. That being said, there's a difference between being a sensitive person and making your emotions everyone else's problem. If you can't handle it, there's a polite way to back yourself out of it and say, that's not for me. Like, that blue hair girl could have just been like, you know what? I think this game's too hard for me. I appreciate you inviting me and letting me play. I'd love to play. This isn't for me, though. Or she could watch and try and figure out it on her own instead of immediately jumping into playing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I've seen a lot of people play tabletop.
It's not very easy welcoming.
Yeah.
It's really not, sadly.
It's very intimidating. But one of the things I've seen was like if the D&D, like with Call of Cthulhu, it's completely different than D&D because you have to roll under your base levels. But Call of Cthulhu is very interesting because it could take place. It takes place in a Lovecraftian mythos, but also with D&D, it's basically Tolkien. And then you got White Wolf with the Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf Apocalypse, where it's all supernatural. And this is why I love tabletop. It's the stories. But then it's like, oh, we can't let that go on because it's offensive to some people. And it's like, if your mind eye sees a problem with that, you're the problem, not the story.
Most definitely. Like I said, if it doesn't work out for you, it's not it's not their problem. Unless it's flat out saying you can't play it if you're X, Y, and Z, then it's not exclusive.
Yeah. Dungeon Craft brought this up because while he does have a problem with orcs being taken out of the monster manual, he can't do anything about it. And the guy has been playing. He does his own type of D&D. He's even doing. I showed you his channel, and he loves giving out advice to new dungeon masters. And this guy basically says that Gary Gygax said, if you wanted to play as a monster from the monster manual, you can. But remember, you start out as the weakest variant of that. And so what if someone wants to start playing a Minotaur? Are they going to start taking Minotaurs out of the monster manual too? If someone
wants to play as a slime cube, does that mean slime cubes can no longer exist?
Yeah. And like one of the things is that they actually cutesied up and Disney-fied the Beholders like a couple years ago, so they could sell plushies.
It is great. It is saddening me more and more seeing D&D submit itself to the capitalistic views and make itself digestible to any and all media while still abandoning its original audience. Like, there's a difference between making yourself digestible for everyone and still upholding your audience and just saying, nah, y'all don't make me as much money as I want. Let me go to some people who will.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope. I mean, Gary Gygax and the founding three of TSR, they did it. They were basically counterculture. I mean, they weren't like punk or anything. They did it because they wanted to feel belonged. 1 second. Entertain the audience, so.
Okie dokies. I hope you guys are enjoying this stream. As of recently, we've been talking a lot of geeks, including D&D. One of my favorite series that has came out of D&D is Vox Machina. It's a very popular series that is on Amazon Prime. It includes a lot of the original people who participated in Critical Role, which was originally an underground cast of actors and actresses that came together as true geeks do, and one of them happened to record their series, and that person ended up submitting it to a producer, and the producer was like, yo, this is some S-tier stuff. If D&D continues with the direction that they are, S-tier stories that come out of it, like Vox Machina, will sadly no longer exist, and I really hope that downfall never exists. If you also are interested in D&D, I would offer a different tabletop called, I think it's along the terms of Megalovania or something like that. It's a gothic tabletop D&D, not D&D, but a gothic tabletop in which you are a player. You get to choose a faction, which has a lot of choices, including pestilence and other things, and you are going through hell fighting other different people with your team that you build based off of the strategy in which you choose, and you go throughout hell and you interact with a lot of amazing characters. It has some of the greatest art I've ever seen, and it's amazing to see more media of gothic tabletop happen because a lot of people who are also geeks happen to be goths.
Okay, so what were you saying?
I was talking about one of my favorite, aside from D&D, one of my favorite other tabletops. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's a really, really long name. It's a gothic tabletop in which you get to choose a faction, and you are going through the depths of hell. The earth has caved in on itself.
Wow. Oh,
And all of
post-apocalypse.
civilization is in hell now. The entire earth has caved itself into hell. And so your goal is to make your way up and fight all the different warlords until you have reached the top, in which you may hopefully exit said hell.
Yeah. You really love tabletop, don't you, buddy?
I love tabletop. I love that game, D&D. Another one that I recently picked up was Four Souls, which is a tabletop akin and based off of the game The Binding of Isaac, which I've loved for years. And then I also like Four Shuffle, which is another tabletop world building game in which you build an entire ecosystem based off the cards you receive, and you can purchase more cards using other cards as currency, and you build an entire forest. There's certain different types of species of trees and bugs and animals, and it's some of the most beautiful art I've seen on cards in a long time. It has a hand painted look to it. Each card looks like an oil painting in its own right.
Yeah, like some of the big tabletops I know are the White Wolf games, like such as Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, and also like one of the
Megalo Gallica, pardon. That was the name of the gothic tabletop that I finally remembered.
There's one tabletop I want to try, and that's the Redwall tabletop, where you basically play as intelligent mice, but you're still mice. It's based off the Redwall novels. So you basically have the same stats. You basically have the same stats, but it's like you're looking at the world through the eyes of a mouse or a forest creature. Like you could either be a ferret, a rabbit, a rat.
Small prey-like creatures.
Yes, and it's the way that they do it, because like in Redwall, they're basically like, I don't know if you heard of the Don Bluth movie, The Secrets of Nim.
Yes, that was actually one of my favorite movies growing up.
And
it was animation, like I had it on DVD and everything.
Yeah, so like you can still wear you could still like wear like that's the type of technology you have. It's a medieval like type of setting, but you could have it on a modern day farm, or you could have it in a farm in the past, but still you're woodland creatures in a setting where you need to survive.
And you're viewed as a pest, and other people are trying to remove you consistently, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's if you run into humans, but then other things would be like prey animals, like bobcats, lynx, or wolves.
Oh, so predators going after you as prey. I see.
Yeah, and it's a great way for an RPG. Also, another one I wanted to try was Dark Heresy. It's set in my favorite universe, the Warhammer universe.
Yes, I'm very well aware that's your favorite universe. I remember we chat at work all the time. It got to the point where I'd have to be like, okay, I need to do this task, you need to do that task. Lovely conversation, though.
Yeah. Dark Heresy is where you play as Inquisition agents.
Oh, yes, I actually remember you telling me about this. You actually allowed me to view all the models on your phone. I really, really, really love their design. So if the story is anything like the designs, it's an immaculate story.
Yeah, you get to play as Inquisition agents looking for heretics within these different worlds, and it's always great to see like Warhammer being put into the tabletop, not just role playing. And plus, also, I would like to see tabletop based in the world of Trench Crusade. We talked about this one before.
Mm-hmm.
Trench Crusade is basically an alternate reality where like during the siege of the Crusades, the Jerusalem, like the gates of hell are open, and this goes all the way into the far future of World War I, and it's basically people who are the Crusades are still going on it, but it's basically the forces of hell versus the faithful, and it is just so awesome.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right. So we've been on for 2 hours. Let's go to the Geek Spotlight. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, the Geek Spotlight is something that I love doing, where we show off anything geek that we picked up. And Seth, we saw Sully's. Seth, what
Mine is actually an anime. I hope that is okay.
Yeah, that is fun.
It is called Ragna Crimson. Me and my husband recently picked it up when I first came out here. It is amazing writing. It's a little bit more on the cornier side, but it's a really amazing shonen in which the main character starts out not being very good, and he actually in which has a curse where dragons are attracted to him, and in this world dragons are one of the most deadliest things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so his family was killed, then he was adopted, his family was killed, then he was bought as a slave, and then the person that bought him was killed. And so at that point he believed he was cursed and he was in a desolate spot, and this lovely woman ended up being like, hey, yo, dragons being attracted to you is not a bad thing if you're a dragon hunter, which I happen to be. You want to be a dragon hunter too? And it just kicks off this lovely friendship, and we watch as he grows and tries to achieve his goals, in which his only goal is protecting her. Mm-hmm. And so much so that he meets his future self, or his future self goes back in time to see him in order to save a character that I will not mention due to spoilers, because if someone does become interested in Ragna Crimson, the last thing I want to do is spoil this. But he grows and grows to the point where you don't recognize him by the end of the story, but it is amazing. It's such an amazing growth, and he ends up befriending this person that he's supposed to meet in the future, but he befriends prematurely due to the knowledge he was given by his future self. And you get to watch him, who has this like level of honor to him, be contrasted with this person who is more than happy to kill anyone to get the way he wants.
All right, so anybody who's interested, look it up. Ragna Crimson
with an R.
Ragna Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up either on Crunchyroll or Amazon.
Crunchyroll or Hulu.
Crunchyroll or Hulu. Sounds like a great anime. As for me, I was able to finally pick this up.
Ooh.
Kill Team, Brutal and Cunning.
And that's the box set?
Yes. And it has my boys, the orcs versus ratlings. And for those of you who don't know, ratlings are basically space hobbits with sniper rifles.
Space hobbits with sniper rifles sounds very, very intimidating, not gonna lie.
Yeah, so you got Brutal, which are my orc boys, who are basically holding all these tank buster weapons. And one of them actually has a rocket hammer, and it is exactly what it sounds like, a rocket attached to a hammer handle.
So it's giving the same vibes of Jace from the new animated Arcane, where his hammer, he's able to use it as more of with a rocket powered boost.
Yeah, but it explodes on impact.
I love that.
It's a one-use weapon. And then you got the ratlings, who are small, chubby, have little chihuahuas to hold their ammo. But they are very sharp. They are very proficient with the sniper rifles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my geek spotlight right now. Kill Team.
A beautiful spotlight.
Yeah.
What?
My Kill Team Brutal Cunning box set.
Do you know what you're gonna paint? Do you know what you're gonna use for the undercolors for each or the primary base colors for each team?
Yeah, for like the orcs, I am going to give them like the look. I'm going to give them like make them the lucky blue gits. So I am going to give them a base color. First, I'm going to prime them black, and then I am going to get try and find like a darker midnight blue. Give it to their armor, because right now these are goths because they have black armor. But I want to give them like a traditional blue, because with orcs they think blue is lucky, and since these guys like busting tanks, so they see themselves as lucky from walking away from a battle.
If you're unable to find a deep, deep, deep blue, I'd advise finding the darkest blue you can and then adding a spot of deep violet to it, and that'll deepen it to the midnight blue you're looking for.
Yeah. And for the ratlings, I'm going to give them the traditional camo, because these guys look so awesome right now. Right now, at having the traditional camouflage.
Well, yeah, they're small, so they got to be smart about it.
Yeah, so they look like Highland snipers.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but would you want to run into a fight full of orcs head on? I certainly wouldn't.
No. So yeah, so that was so. If you got right now, brutal and cunning is on back order. Go to either warhammer.com, ask for it at your local game store. If you guys are interested in Warhammer model building or growing your great pile of shame like me, I suggest you guys pick up Brutal and Cunning. Right now it's at 100. I got right now it's at $150. I was able to pick up mine because I pre-ordered for $120 because I pre-ordered it, but it's still a great buy. All right, so thank you guys for joining us, and Sully, I hope you feel better, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for joining me.
Of course, man, always. If I got time, I'll be here.
Yeah. So, and thank you for enlightening us with your knowledge at tabletop. It's always good to have that type of geek on here.
Of course, if I'm able to help push one more person towards the passion of tabletop, it means I've done right for the day.
All right.
And thank you for having me, Bendito. I really, really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. And as I always say, keep playing. God bless.
Blessed be.
So long.
Bye-bye.